with Greg Turner in the know. From storefront lights to back-end screens, we're turning hustle into dreams. Retail mastery, we're unlocking the key, helping small biz thrive just like it should be. Core repair right in every move, efficiency rising, we're finding our groove. Solution smart, support that shines, we're leveling up one sale at a time. Together we rise, no need to guess, with knowledge and tools for real success. Retail mastery, let's thrive. Brought to you by Coreware.
Greg, you just said you like the music, right? You like the
I
song.
do like the music. Anytime your name is mentioned in the song, you kind of have to.
You feel
Kinda
really important, right?
Feel important. Yeah, it makes you feel good.
Hey, so that's what I want everyone to know. We're gonna, wait a few more seconds to let everybody show up. But if you would like one of your songs played, so I'm getting messages right now from our assistants who's supposed to be telling us if everything's right, and they didn't tell me to turn off. We will begin momentarily. So you guys failed, by the way. Horrible, guys. Come on, help me out here. So if you guys want, what we can do is what I would like for you to do in the chats, and you guys watching the chats, please, copy this stuff down. Give me a subject and 5 other words that you want used in the song. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick a winner, and then the next Retail Mastery, we'll have your song playing. I think that would be cool.
I'm excited to hear it.
No profanity. No profanity. This family friendly, so no profanity. And if you want, use your business's name, right? You could say Billy Bob's Gun Shop, where to go, and then tell me what type of music, like rock, hillbilly, classical, cinematic, whatever. I think it'd be fun, man. It'd be really cool. So let me ask you this, Greg. What are we going to be talking about this week? Because I know it's a really important topic, and I think it has something to do with people losing money.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to talk about asset protection, and I'll go ahead and right off the bat and tell you I may use asset protection, loss prevention, LP, shrinkage, any of those type of terms. It's funny. I've been in this business for a long time, for about 25 years, and I've seen the evolution of those terms. Everybody started out and it was only called shrink. And then, they thought, we need something a little better. So it became loss prevention. And then they were like, well, no, we don't want to lead with loss. It's about asset protection. So whichever bucket you feel serves best for your situation, that definitely fits. But really, we're all talking about the same thing. Like you talked about, Joel, we want to save you money. That's really what all this is about, is protecting your business through processes, procedures, and making sure that you get more money in your pocket at the end of the day.
And a lot of times people may, misunderstand what shrinkage or loss prevention is. And it is not always in regards to theft, right? I mean, there are other things that cause shrinkage or loss, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so it's funny. You talk about, everybody does go right immediately to theft, and theft is a big portion of it, internal and external theft. But additionally, there's operational shrinkage where we'll talk about it. Receiving, if you don't receive items in at the correct costs, or you receive a case instead of an individual item, down the line, that's going to hit your P&L as shrinkage. And yes, you may have the money. That's part of it. Sometimes you've got the money in the wrong bucket, but other times you're selling things at the wrong price because they didn't come in at the right price. Or it's missed opportunities as well. That's another big one. Where there's discounting that's happening when it shouldn't be happening, things like that. So there's all different types of shrink, of loss, and we'll definitely cover them today.
Hey, so I know you keep your notes, and again, I admire that because usually when I do something like this, I have no notes. I'm literally free forming, right?
Yeah.
Which I am not that really brilliant guy that just can come up with the raps like on the spot. I'm not him. I think it's Harry Mack or whatever.
Yep.
Phenomenal guy. Like I don't know how his
Unbelievable.
mind works,
Yeah.
but I know you've got your notes sitting in front of you. What I would like for you to do is just briefly run over what we're going to learn today, and then we can dive in.
Yeah, definitely. So, what we're going to go over is understanding the different types of loss, so we'll talk about that internal, we'll talk about the external, we'll talk about the physical plant, the physical building itself, things you can do there. We're going to talk about some steps that you can take to alleviate these concerns. And then, we're going to talk about too, just the culture of all of it as well. It's funny. I've seen things all the way from, where if somebody bought a drink out of the cooler, they had to tape their receipt to the drink, and nobody likes that. The culture just gets killed. People steal from you just for the dumb policy that you put in place.
Yes.
So we want to do all of these things, but we want to do all of these things in a way that doesn't hinder business or create a culture that your employees don't want to come to work every day.
Right. That's awesome. Well, I will start out with a story that I remember because I worked in retail for a little bit.
Yeah.
Mainly grocery, but I worked for a while for Walmart, and when there were no super centers, like I think there was a super center within like 80 miles of here, and we're a fairly okay large area, and this was going to be the first super center, so I had to travel into Texas a little ways and do my training. Well, while I was there, they busted this massive theft ring, and what these people were doing, it was brilliant back then. It was like it was high tech back then, because back then it was like 97. There's no nobody's walking around with phones or cameras, or everybody's not computer literate like they are fairly today. And I remember one night, man, cops just started swarming, and I'm like, what the heck have I gotten myself into? And turns out they broke up this ring. What this ring was doing is they were printing out receipts, right? So they would go and they would make legitimate purchases, like big purchases, and then they would duplicate the receipts and go to all these other stores, right? Load their buggies up with all the same items and then just walk out. And it was like huge. I mean, this was like a big deal for Walmart, because you talk about shrinkage. That was a huge deal. So I don't know if there's anything like that people can do in our industry, but I just thought that was a fascinating thing, because when you're dealing with man and man's mind, nothing's out of his reach. Like if you can imagine it, he can figure out how to take your stuff. But anyway, I just wanted to kick off with that story. I don't know if I didn't tell you I was going to tell that story, so I don't even.
No, yeah, I've seen it too, Joel. I mean, I remember at a big box retailer, sold a lot of different things. I was with a long time ago, Dick's Sporting Goods is where I think this happened. Somebody they had an inside guy. They were selling Christmas trees, and in the Christmas tree box, they were loading them up with $300 to $500 bats. So these boxes, and the way that we spotted it was the guy was moving the box to put it on a cart, and on camera, for a 60-pound Christmas tree, he was putting in a whole lot of effort. So yeah,
Merry Christmas, right?
Merry Christmas. Yeah, 15 bats in addition to your
golly. Yeah,
it's pretty crazy what people do, and kind of to talk about that, we can start off there. External theft. External theft is one of the pathways that get in our way when it comes to shrinkage. And external theft, there's a few things, we all know it exists, but as everything gets more distinguished, more refined, with all of the tools that exist out there, there's now whole rings of people. I mean, they call them organized retail crime, as the law enforcement, or ORCs, where they truly operate like a business. And the model of their business is, how can we steal? How can we obtain goods from your retail shop? And a few things you can do with that are, we should all have cameras, I would think, in this industry.
Yeah.
But not just having cameras, right? There's a couple of things that we need to do with cameras. And one of those is make sure they're in the right places. Make sure you don't have blind spots. That's something that's really surprising, because the first thing these rings do when they go in is they start looking up, looking around, seeing, okay, where are the cameras? Where's my blind spot? And it gets into how you set your inventory on your floor as well. If you've got an item that you know gets stolen a lot, don't put it on an end cap in front of the front door. Don't put your ammo right up front if it's easy to pocket and you're seeing through cycle counts that you're losing it. Also, if you have the shelves in the middle of the retail floor, you want to make sure that if you've got a camera on this side coming down, you've also got a camera on this side, because I can't tell you how many of these guys need to tie their shoes in places that are very convenient, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, is with physical, we'll go there. Physically, make sure your cameras, you've got cameras, check your cameras. Check to make sure you don't have blind spots within your store. Additionally, review that camera footage, or have some sort of cadence where every once in a while, even if it's just once a month to start at the very minimum, to where you just kind of check it for an hour, just randomly check some things. It's amazing what you'll see. Another time, just checking cameras randomly, checking in on the status of a store, trying to see if it was busy or if it wasn't busy. Look at the first camera that's set up right over a register, which I would recommend to get those registers on camera as well, because we'll get into internal theft. But literally saw a guy, see the drawer pop, don't see a customer in front. And then I see the turnaround, the hand reaches down into the till. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It was like watching America's Most Wanted. It was absolutely crazy. So I'm not guaranteeing you'll be that lucky, or unlucky, depending on how you want to look at it.
Right.
But I certainly think a regular review of your camera footage will help.
Go
ahead.
Quick, because it just, Greg, man, I'm so sorry. I always do this, right?
Thank you.
Hey, AI. I was just thinking, like, how could you do something like this? And it's not AI. Just maybe look at your reports, like in Core Store, find out those spikes in business, right? And then you can go. They're all time stamped, right? Or at least the times that those things are the times that you have spikes in business. And then that's when you would determine, when do I need to go look at my cameras, because you may not be there. You may be the owner, right? Or the manager, and you've got other people running things. So you don't want to look at 24 hours of footage or 16 hours of footage or however long you're open. So that's a pro tip for you guys. I'm not going to look at all this footage. When should I look? Go look at your peaks in your sales, and then start looking around. Another thing that hit me while you were talking, going back to my security minded way of thinking, is that's your battlefield, right? You can form your battlefield. You can funnel people. You can, and I know that sounds morbid, but this industry, that's how we think anyway, right? You're always sitting with your back to the wall and you back into a parking space. This is part of that thinking. Figure out how to lay your store out in a way that you can control behaviors of people. And you also have the benefit of knowing this person doesn't belong here, and he's not acting like all of the rest of the people that don't belong here. Because if you've got somebody tying their shoes 5 times in your store, there's either a gravity problem in your store, a static problem, or that dude's looking to steal some stuff. So some of these things are just popping into my head as you're talking, Greg, and I know hopefully it resonates with everybody watching out there. But you own the battle space. So you owning the battle space, like Greg said, don't put high-end items on an end cap right there at the front door, right? Direct your traffic, right? And I think I actually went over that in I used the robot to take a picture of a store layout, and I asked it, how can I best get traffic in and out? Where should I put product and stuff like that? So you don't even have to go out and hire a security expert. You could just create one as a robot and show it your store and just have it guide you. But yeah, there's no reason. That should be the easiest. The external threat, Greg, tell me if I'm wrong. That should be the easiest thing to fight against and prevent, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And to piggyback on what you're saying about the layout too, it's not only to stop things from happening, you can use your layout proactively to have customers engage in things you want them to engage in. So, for example, if you've got a range back there, you should probably have ammo right up next to the line. We've all been to TJ Maxx Kohl's where they make you go through the
Yes.
Gondo line to get there. It doesn't have to be that extreme, but having a table or something that they're going to want to buy as they come up to you can certainly help, and how you walk them through the stores.
Yeah.
We'll have our top selling guns, right? The ones that those 20% that make up 80% of the sales, you want to make sure those are in high traffic areas, not only just for the opportunity to sell, but also for the appearance that it gives that, yes, this store is in stock on the top selling items at all time. So there's a lot to be had from optimizing store layout. And the other part too, I'd say with that, we're getting a little off topic, but it's all related, is to rotate your items and do a little A/B testing. I mean, it doesn't take you too much work, especially with slow season coming up, where it gets a little, we all wish there were more customers walking through the door. Start shifting some items or something that hasn't sold well that maybe sold well in the past. Move it to a better location and see if you can increase the sales without decreasing the item that was previously there. There's a lot of experimentation and a lot of improvement that can happen pretty quickly from that.
And that's a lot. It's confusing to a lot of people. Not a lot of people, but what they should do. Like, I don't know how to start. And you just mentioned A/B testing, and there may be people out there that don't know what A/B testing is. Can you just give me a brief practical example of a box of ammo and how I can A/B test where I put that box of ammo?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what you want to do is you want to have a control period where you've got the data saying, okay, in this scenario, this is how this item sells. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it, and I'm going to make this my B. I'm going to move this here, and now I'm going to set it here. And during a similar time frame, I mean, obviously you don't want to make the move on a Friday and then go Friday through Sunday and say, oh, I'm a genius, everything's great. You want to keep that a week at a time versus a week at a time without holidays and both. Right. And then just look at your sales reports. That's one of the big things. See how it did. Now, a lot of times you don't get much movement. I mean, a lot of times things don't happen, but I'll tell you, it's so rewarding. Not only the exciting part about saying, okay, cool, I found something about my business, but also ultimately it puts more dollars in your pocket.
Yeah.
Because you'll find an item the customers just aren't seeing. I mean, that's, if you've got those questions like, why are we not selling more of this? And this goes with guns too, not just on the shelves, in any of the space you have where you're displaying firearms. Play around with that, see how people are coming into your store, see where they're setting up shop. I generally believe, and from my experience, what I've seen is where people are busy, that's where you want those immediately recognizable items that they're going to want. So and then with that A/B testing, going back to that for a second, try something else. If you don't see the results, don't give up. Keep going, because you will find things that will help your business.
And I will say this, we're talking about, you were talking about TJ Maxx, I guess, or and how they guide you. What everybody out there needs to realize is that hundreds of billions of dollars have gone into doing this already. Maybe not in a gun store, but as far as a consumer is concerned, like this person walks in the store, what do we want them to do? Learn from all these companies like Walmart that's probably spent billions, right? Learning where to place product, and they've done all the testing for you. And I know a pack of bubble gum is not a Glock, right? It's just as good. The Glock is just as good as the pack of bubble gum. I'm just joking with you, but let all of that, let all of those lessons that have already been learned, don't waste your time. Another thing that I think, if I had a piece of real estate that I was selling product from, right, I would do what Apple did. And I look back at this, it was probably 10 years when I first really started, because I was kind of infatuated, I guess, with Steve Jobs and the way he thought. And like, the dude was a genius. I don't care if you like him or not, but he was a genius. But their stores, they had it broken down to what they made per square foot. And at the time when I was following, it was like Apple made $32,000 per square feet. So if you've got a sales floor, right? You probably should start tracking that. Like, what are we making? What is per square foot? What are we making? I think that would be a really good thing to kind of, get basically a baseline and something that you try to build on every year. And again, if the $1 billion and the $1 trillion companies are doing it, it's probably not a bad thing for you to do as well.
No, you're 100% right. And I mean, square footage is a resource, and we all need to maximize that in order to put more money at the bottom of our P&Ls as much as we can. No question about it. Kind of continuing on the physical, to kind of things we can do there. The last thing I want to touch on too is the old smash and grabs, right? In our industry, you're closed. People, we've all seen it. They drive the car through the front door. They drive the car through a wall. I'd encourage everyone to just do an audit yourself. That you don't need a fancy security company to come in and tell you what to do. Look for any areas where you're like, you know what, somebody could drive a car through there and they get right through. And, a couple of things you can do there. You can get, if you want to go very professional, you can get the bollards, the big poles that kind of come up out of the ground to stop that. If that's too much, get a giant rock, make it a decorative stone. I know, I'm here in Northern Kentucky. They cut through mountains all the time. I literally see people on the side of the road loading up their trucks. And not to say that everybody needs to go out there and do that. The point just is there are some low cost things you can do as well with just a little bit of work, and stick that thing right in front of the entry point, and people walk around it. But
be something people sign too, probably.
Yeah,
right. Sign our rock.
Yeah, I mean, I know it sounds silly, but it really does work, and it's amazing what can deter these people.
Yeah, but remember what you just said. It's just deterrence. Like any ring of security, it's just a ring. It can be climbed over, driven through, or whatever. You're not like. If a person has an intention of doing something, they can, with enough time, figure it out. So I think that kind of shrinkage, it's just going to happen eventually, maybe. But the other things that we're talking about, you can absolutely control. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you put a lock on a door. It doesn't mean anybody's not going to pick the lock. It just means it's going to slow them down a little bit. So keep that in mind as well. I don't want to deflate anybody's. I'm not trying to deflate what you said, Greg. I don't want people to be like, "Well, I put a rock out there. What are they doing?"
Yeah, you're right.
Happen,
No, I mean, you're 100% right, Joel. It is all deterrence, and that's what it is. Right. But with enough deterrence, somebody's going to say, "You know what? Forget this. There's an easier place to go down the road." And
the biggest deterrence, I think, for people inside your shop is just attention. Like any predator or anything that's going to be prey. I don't know if have you ever heard of mimicry?
No, I haven't. But
if you look at a moth, it's got these huge orbs on its wings. They look like eyes, right? And those eyes are there to scare off anything that's trying to come get it, right? And if you do the same with people, because we're basically animals as well. If you walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, sir, how are you doing today? Can I help you find anything?" They're going to tie their shoes a whole lot less in your store, guaranteed.
Absolutely. That's what I would call the exceptional customer service. You see somebody that's looking a little suspicious, you give them exceptional customer service. Just get up on them, offer them any help they want. They may send you away. Stay kind of in the area, circle back 5 minutes later and just say, "Hey, I see you're still looking. Anything I can help you with today?"
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much that stops. And that, Joel, that's a great thing to call out, because that's almost the best thing you can do when you're live in the store during opening hours. Exceptional customer service will solve a lot of problems.
And it will create loyal customers as well. So you're not just bullshitting people. Sorry for the language. I'm sitting here saying no profanity in our song. But you're not just BSing people. You're literally doing what, like when I came up, that was, if you didn't do that, if you were working in a service industry and you didn't talk to everybody, you weren't going to be there long. And you don't see that anymore. So if you did that, if you gave that kind of service in your shop, guaranteed you're going to be on the radar of people that "Hey, you got to go to this place. These people are the nicest people." And in this industry, you go to a gun shop. I don't know if you've experienced this, Greg, but a lot of gun shops, it's like they attract some really negative people. And it's like, dude, just be not. I promise you, if you be nice, everybody's going to get wealthy. You know what I mean? Because it's going to create some really loyal customers. And I know we're all dealing with people that maybe are jerks or anything, but we can deal with anything for 8 hours. I deal with a lot for 8 hours a day. So, you can too.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're 100% right, Joel. I mean, that's one of those things where it really does not only have the added benefit of stopping bad things from happening, but it just will reap so many rewards on your business overall and back into culture. If you're giving everybody exceptional customer service, there's obviously the good side of that's going to outweigh even the deterrent on the other side. So.
Right. Hey, so real quick, Phil said something. He says, afraid of homeless people outside a shop. Have you ever experienced that, or have you ever heard of that? Because that's not only an issue just if they're actually homeless, but if I were going to stake out a big hit on a place, I would probably be homeless for a week or two before that hit.
Yeah.
Sleep in front of that shop.
Yeah, I mean, that I have had that. And, typically what I've done is we contact the authorities and just have them come down and at least have a conversation with them. I mean, if they're in a public spot, depending on what municipality you're in, where you're at, you may not be able to move them. But at least if you make that contact with law enforcement, there's at least a record of that. And it gives us a place to start in worst case scenario, something does happen. It's at least another data point.
Right.
But that is one that just gets so crazy depending on where you're at in the country and
yeah, it does.
What you even can do. And a lot of times too, a conversation. I say right to the police. I will tell you, I personally have had a conversation with the guy who set up shop literally right out front. I just went out and talked to him and just said, hey, I'm sorry you're in this situation. I truly am. Let me buy you some food, but do you mind if you could just move down that way a little bit? And in that scenario, it was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And they packed up and moved on, and I got him a Big Mac meal.
That's that exceptional customer service, even though that person wasn't a customer, but
hey,
he actually was. He was doing you a service. So
he did. He
was
did.
pretty good.
It was a win-win.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's kind of the external theft. I think we covered a lot of that, and just with time coming where it's at, I want to move to internal theft because I think internal theft is where we could definitely make some really good progress, and I can provide some really good tips for you. One of the big things, and Joel, you already touched on this, but one of the big things you can do with internal theft is utilize the reporting functions that exist within the POS, within Core Store. You want to run some regular reports. Some examples would be voids. If somebody's, ending transactions early, voiding transactions out, that's the old cash in the pocket. Customers present, they're there, they pay, they don't need a receipt, they walk away. Okay, this transaction's not real. I'm just going to cancel it, and then I'm going to put the money in my pocket. That's a method they take. Discounting. Discounting doesn't really, it's not money out of the till, or it's not money, but it's money that didn't make it into the till. Run a discount report by associate. See who are the discounters and who are not. I bet a lot of you, if you run that report to see who's done discounts in my store by user, you're going to see some people that are using that discount button a heck of a lot more than others. And then it allows you to kind of dig in there and start looking at transactions, and then coupling that with camera reviews, going back and saying, okay, at this time, this discount happened. Is this the same customer? Is this one of his buddies that he's, giving crazy discounts to? Another thing is thresholds, like discounting thresholds. Sometimes, people can only give a discount up to an X%. That's a good process to have in place. A lot of times people don't even realize what the margins are that work in your shops. I know we all do because we're looking at those numbers, but there's a lot of scenarios where somebody may think, oh yeah, I'm giving this guy 15% off because he's a good customer and he's here all the time. It's not even nefarious, but why he's giving that 15% off on the purchase of a gun, he's given all your margin away, and you may even be negative on that. So I'd really encourage the discount reporting, the return reporting. That's another one. Returns. Obviously, I know we're all there and we've all seen the returns, and that's a lot of times the first place we start. but I wouldn't forget it. And much like we talked about, when you're letting an employee go on the last episode, and we're talking about sort of the maintenance that you want to do, just checking all of these things, I'd recommend running these reports on some sort of a regular basis, just looking at your transactions, looking for any exceptions. And again, nothing fancy here, just run the data and just see what stands out. And each situation is going to be unique, but I'd certainly look for any outliers and then start there. Are you going to say something, Joel? I'm sorry.
No, there was a pregnant pause there, and I'm like, oh, did he ask me something?
No. I saw you going to the mic, and I'm like, uh-oh, Joel's got something there.
He's about to rap.
No, yeah, hey. I could do what Harry Mack did. I would, trust me.
No joke, man. Hey, you were talking about discounts. That's also like if you've got if you've got employees that are like working on commission. I mean, that's a kind of a big deal as well. They'll, hey, come back and I'll give you a discount, blah 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 on so and so. Or that's not, man. Again, every time we talk about this, I feel icky because you're thinking of the worst of people, but it does happen, I'm sure.
No, it does, unfortunately. I mean, most of the time it doesn't, but when it does, it certainly has a huge impact on our businesses. We are fortunate in this industry to where firearms are so closely guarded with the ATF forms, with serial counts we're hopefully all doing, that 50 to 75% of our sales generally aren't going to walk out the door. Now, I know that there's scenarios where they do, but that certainly helps in this industry. So that is a positive. But to that point, mentioning on serial audits, another thing you can do to help is inventory audits and cycle counts. So if you're not in a regular cadence of doing those audits, of just literally printing out what should I have in stock, you close down. When you're closed, a couple of people can knock it out a heck of a lot faster than you'd ever think. And you don't have to do it all the time. Do it monthly, do it quarterly, do it even if it's twice a year. But I would say do it more than once a year for sure. It'll give you really good feedback. Don't just change the quantities either. We all have a million things going on, and it's too easy to say, hey, we're 4 off on these boxes of ammo, or 12 off on this. Just change the quantities and be done with it. Mark those down and then investigate those and just see what you can find. Start with the sales transaction history. Are there any crazy discounts? Are there, anything where items were swapped, or just those are the best places to go. And additionally, as you're doing these cycle counts, it's another deterrent, even for that internal bad actor, where they know that there's a stop to where they're going to know something's up. I better not do this. So another thing that's just best practices that really, really pays benefits.
Which all of that is, we're talking about attention, right? So if you focus on something, or you look at someone, or you do some sort of a even a standard operating procedure, right? An SOP is a set of eyes, because these people know, man, that report, they're going to run that report and they're going to catch me. Or so anything that you do in regards to this stuff is just, if you focus on it, right? If you look at it, if you give it attention, most likely it's not going to happen. So basically it's just be aware and be present. You know what I'm saying? If you're just aware and present, bad things will seldom happen.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's generally, when these things happen, they were happening right in front of our faces. I mean, that's very, very common. Yeah. Another thing internally is when we get into integrity of passwords and permissions for different roles. The most of the discounting, most of the register type stuff either happens from someone who shouldn't have access to things they have access to, or if you do have some permissions set up where only managers can do certain functions, it's the most common retail thing in the world for that manager to just hand out their credentials and tell people, oh yeah, just put in my info. Here's what it is. Because they've got a million things going on. They're busy helping out somebody on the other side of the store. Those are the things where you do just have to stop those. because we all have turnover. It is retail. It's going to happen. The new person that comes in, you don't have the history with them. You don't know if they get their hands on that manager code. They've got complete keys to your system. Like you talked about, Joel, it's all about putting up doors. You know, we do have to have keys to those doors, but who has keys to those doors is very, very important. So, so we need to make sure we constantly look at that, constantly audit that. Separation of duties too. You know, if somebody's on a register, that person shouldn't be the one counting down the register. That should be somebody else at the end of the night. Now, I know sometimes that's not always feasible, but when it is, certainly try to separate those duties. You know, again, it's just another deterrent.
Right. And even if you can't, remember, like, people, before they do something like that, before I take money from the till, I'm thinking about taking money from the till. Probably days and weeks before I take money from the till. I'm speaking as that employee that might do that. Even if you can't have someone count, you know, like, what'd you call it? The division of duties?
Yeah, just separation of duties.
Yeah, separation of duties. Even if you can't have that every night, that person knowing that it could be tonight, that person is going to, it's going to put up another mental roadblock for them to get around. Like, because they're planning this. They've probably, before they ever do it, they've been thinking about it, and they're like, man, I could just do it right here. So just changing up that, you know, that strategy or that close down, how you close down every night, and keep whoever's thinking about doing something honest, you know, just keep them on their toes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's not even just about, it's like you said, I guess you don't have to do everything every night. Sometimes it's about a shift in routine too, where you bring in something else that is related to loss prevention. Just if you bring it to the forefront of your store to where you're talking about it, you're thinking about it. It's not gotcha type stuff. Just like, hey, we're doing these processes to secure all of our futures.
Right.
I mean, everybody's got to make money in the business. The business has to make money for all of us to be employed.
Right.
So, you know, that's kind of the message behind it. And it even gets into the back to the physical to a degree. It's like the walking out together is something that a lot of retailers over a lot of years have done. And that's something that I'd recommend if it works in your structure, do it. I mean, yeah, everybody's got bags and everybody's got that type of stuff, but this was from big box days. Everybody just has to check each other. You know, you don't even need a manager. It's like you can't walk out by yourself at the end of the night. You guys have to walk out with a buddy. Now, maybe you could have two people that are in on it together, but chances of that are a lot less likely. And it's going to eliminate that guy who just sees opportunity. And also, Joel, when you were talking about they've been thinking about it for a while, additionally, they generally don't stop. So they start small and then it escalates. So they may have gotten away with, you know, however they're doing it, whether it's discounts, whether it's voiding a transaction, whether it's just straight pocketing money. May start out at $20, you know, for dinner tonight. But then once they get away with it, it's like, okay, now next time I'm going to hit them for 40. And then now I'm going to hit them for 100. So as you see these suspicious reports or any sort of suspicious activity, I'd say zero in on that associate's, you know, digital footprint in your point of sale. Go back and start looking at other things, and you'll generally find things because nobody gets caught the first time. It's they keep on going.
Right. So Chris asked, and I get it, Chris, because whenever I talk about this stuff, I feel icky because it's like you're just looking at the lowest common denominator of people. Not saying that those people are there, but you may, in your shop, you may bring on more people, new people or whatnot. And if you've got systems set up in place where everybody is kind of checking everybody else out, you're just keeping each other honest. And it's sad that we've got to live in a world like that, but that is just the world we live in. But Chris's question was, why have someone else count the register? Can you go in a little bit more depth
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason being is it's my drawer and I've been operating on it, and I've had a few cash transactions. Well, if I take $40 out throughout the day and then it's my responsibility to count it down, I'm going to count it down and I'm going to say, guess what? That $40 is there. I make my deposit all ready to go or do whatever I'm going to do. And, where they go from there could be a couple of different things. There are things that could catch it at this point, but I've seen people short the deposit and then blame the bank, or, generally it's not just one day's deposit. It might be, 3 or 4 days deposits,
Right.
just depending on how it goes. So having that second person count it down immediately is just going to stop the person from pocketing something and then playing games later. They may even get in later and do a return that night, after
Right.
they counted it down and thought, oh, okay, I've got my $40. Well, let me fix that in the register and now let me go. So
And
it's another point to just stop it from potentially happening.
And I'm going to play devil's advocate for Chris, because Chris may say, you know what, I worked this shift and I know I didn't take any money. What if there is money missing and somebody else counts it? It's gonna kind of feel like, wait a minute, man, I did not take any money,
Yeah. So second part of that is whoever's counting the drawer should always be on camera, where everything is on screen. So like if you have to carry the drawer back to an office, that you've got a camera that's right over top. If it's not right over top of your register, always have that person on camera. In big box, they have a cash room for this, to where it's like you're in a Vegas casino. There's 17 different cameras. I know we're not going to take it that far, but literally just a standard process. Here, we know where the camera is. We know we want to see the money. We know we want to see hands. So however that's set up, you just give them, hey, every night we do it at this desk right here, facing this way. And again, none of this should be perceived as negatively. I know the icky feeling you're talking about,
Right.
Joel, but these are things that we just have to do for the good of the overall company. And again, you tell people, hey, this has nothing to do with you. This is to stop the person that we don't even know yet that started doing this. Like,
Right.
we all kind of check each other and we're all in on it together. But, and I have seen, I don't know that I recommend this, but an idea is rewards for people that find, theft happening and report it. That's typically more big box style because it's a little more anonymous. I know in our instances, pretty much everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
But I have seen that work with success at larger scale, where you offer $500 to anybody who finds somebody who is shoplifting or who's doing internal theft, or it's even, $50. I've seen, now that was years ago. We're talking like 1997, 98, Joel. So inflation might get us there, but it doesn't have to be 500 either. It could be $100. I mean, generally people want to do it because it's the right thing. And it's another just point of getting people in an asset protection mindset is going to help your business overall, even if nobody ever reports anything. Simply, it's like the smile, you're on camera, right? Smile, you're on camera. You see that sign, another good idea to just have it there in your store to let people know as soon as they walk in, hey, they're recording. I think I might stay away.
Yeah.
So similar type of things there.
Okay.
Kind of moving on to, it's kind of related, but digital loss prevention really gets into securing our passwords, making sure that we do those audits that we've talked about of who is an active user. That's another thing too, active users versus inactive users. So you may have an employee that works summers for you. Okay. So they go off to college, they come back in the summer, they work for you in the summer. They're not terminated. They're not around, but their login is still active in your system. So with it just sitting there active in your system, I'd recommend anybody that hasn't worked over whatever period of time you're willing to reset their password. But if somebody's not going to be there for a month, I would inactivate their account. If they're not going to be there for 2 weeks, okay, maybe 2 weeks is all right. They can work their way in, but go through those and make sure you don't have inactive employees, not just terminated employees, to keep them out. Again, anytime anybody gets into that point of sale, it's amazing how intelligent somebody who wants to do bad things can be. So again, just make sure you're constantly keeping up to date on all of your logins across point of sale and your e-com specifically as well. Anywhere anybody can manipulate a transaction, that's going to be your biggest point of risk in loss prevention in the retail world. Receiving items in. This is more of like an operational shrink type of thing. But operational shrink is real. We talked about it a little bit, but making sure your receiving matches your PO or matches your invoice that you're getting is paramount. I mean, don't receive items under the wrong UPCs that you're not going to be selling them out the door of. I know that sounds basic, but that will cause you all kinds of operational shrink. And again, operational shrink isn't necessarily even money that you've lost, but it's money that's going to be miscategorized, that's going to affect you when it comes to running reports about what you should buy, restocking things, making those adjustments after you've done the audit counts, things like that. So some of the big mistakes that I've seen with receiving are, incorrect prices, which I know at the end your totals shouldn't match, but it doesn't mean that somebody's still not going to push things through. Receiving ammo at cases at individual prices. Pricing audits too, related with the receiving. Making sure a margin report is a really big thing that you all should run. Just what margin am I making on each of these individual items? And again, I don't expect you to go through all 2,000 items you carry in your store, but what you can do is you get that margin by item. Once you have that margin by item, sort it and just look for your outliers. What are you making too low on? You're going to find some things that you're selling a holster at 10 points that you should probably be making 35 on. You're going to find some things that maybe weren't selling that you had 80% margin on, and it was just overpriced. So that's another big report that you can run that will give you actionable intel on your business, both from an asset protection side and from a sales opportunity side as well.
Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I've got, Joel. I mean, I think, again, just to kind of touch on it, I'd say create a culture of prevention. I mean, really talk about these things with everybody, get their input too. Most of your employees want to help you. That's the part that's really cool about all of this, is just like you're saying, you get the ick, Joel. So do they. People don't want to work with people that are stealing from their business. So as you kind of just bring it to the forefront, it's not a gotcha. Just say, hey guys, and I'm a believer in using real numbers. I mean, we all kind of have gone through and done our cycle counts or done our year-end inventory for P&Ls. And, whatever that number is, say we have $15,000 in shrink or obsolescence in shrinkage that we have to put on that P&L statement. I'd make that known to your employees, like, hey, here's why we need to do these things, or here's why these policies and procedures are coming into effect. We as a business lost $15,000 last year. And just by doing these, and that's not even counting the missed opportunities that you may not even see on paper. But if you are transparent with that information, you're going to get buy-in from people who want to help you succeed. I believe the vast majority of employees that work, they want their businesses to do well. And if they know you're looking for it and they know they've got an opportunity to help you, there's just that the old attaboy type motivation that now they know that's what the company's looking towards. So certainly culture is very, very important.
Okay. Well, I was going to share something here, and I want to go back because you guys may be wondering how like what Greg is talking about, how can this help you? We've got every week we send this out. Anytime we make a webinar, we create what I like to affectionately call a Webby. And all a Webby is it's basically just a special bot that knows everything about the webinar, right? So what I did is I took this, I took Greg's last Webby that we built on everything you covered. And I just came here and I said, what are the top 3 things that I should do when letting someone go? And it's going to take all that information that Greg covered, in that, and it's going to basically, it's basically going to give you a tailored answer, because if we've got 5 different people letting someone go, they've all got different reasons, or they've got different circumstances. So that's why I encourage you guys to use these Webbies based upon your situation, because they're going to obviously use logic that applies to what you're going through. So I would encourage you to do this, because I know we were talking about Greg, you were talking about the SOP or whatnot. And this literally, this is the first thing it said: prepare in advance with a detailed plan. You have to have SOPs. So what does that entail for your business? I mean, you could literally just carry that conversation on here in ChatGPT, because if you've been using this, obviously it's going to be, it's going to have, all of your information. If it's been helping you work or whatnot. So it will be able to give you tailored advice, depending on how you're communicating with it. So I would encourage everybody to use that. It's in every edition of our Core Weekly, which is our weekly newsletter. And just use these tools, because I know, you might be overwhelmed if you're running an operation. You've got, 15 lanes, you've got, 12 employees or 15 employees, and you just got a lot going on. So there are tools available today, not only Coreware. I mean, Coreware can be your tool as well, but there are other tools that you can use that will really, greatly expand upon what you're capable of doing, because again, how long would it take me to sit down and think about, okay, I'm going to let Greg go this Friday. What are the top 3 things that I need to do to get ready to let him go? And Greg's covering this stuff. So in our next edition, you're going to be able to say, okay, for loss prevention, here's basically how my store is kind of set up. Can you give me examples of how I can, improve this? And it's going to take everything that Greg talked about and turn it into magical information for you. So again, you're not alone out there. I know you may feel alone. You got a lot on your shoulders. You're running a business. You may be an employee. You've got a lot of responsibilities as well. It's no joke to work in a gun store or gun range, anywhere guns are, out in the open. And I'm not saying that as a, mom's against, guns or anything. I'm saying that it's just an individual, because, Phil had something really that resonated with me. He says, I do let customers that know it all educate me. And that's usually the people that come into gun stores, man. They know everything. And I've seen a lot of people that know everything shoot holes in the ceiling, shoot the floor, shoot where they weren't supposed to shoot. And it's like, man, this is so I can understand you guys are probably stressed out there. If you can get help, if you've got all these other tools that can help you kind of let you focus on what you want to do, right? Take care of that customer, move a lot of product and make that business grow, then absolutely use it. And if we can help you with anything, obviously we are always here to help. Greg, I didn't mean to step on your toes, but then I look at the time. We're 53 minutes into this, man. I can't believe you talk so much.
No, I don't know, Joel.
You're not shy.
I'm trying to keep up with you.
No, you're well, the thing is that when you talk, people actually should listen. So do you have any, were we going to go over anything else in regards to loss prevention? I know we talked about external threats. We talked about internal threats. I think internal threats would be the hardest thing to fight against, because these are people that these are the people that you trust, you've come to trust. And it's really hard when someone's that you look at every day, and they're trying to deceive you, as opposed to you've got, 10 customers in your shop and one of them has bad intentions. You can usually pick that bad intentioned individual out. That's why we're thankful that criminals are stupid, because they do make mistakes. What do you think's the hardest thing to fight against, external or internal?
Oh no, I mean the hardest thing to fight against is internal. There's no question about it because it's constantly going on. Like you're right. When somebody walks in, I mean certainly people can get you external on a Saturday when you're busy and everybody's with a customer and somebody sneaks in, but internally it's the people you trust, right? I mean that's what makes it so hard. We trust our customers to a certain degree, but the internal people are your work family. I mean, that's who you're all working together. You're all working towards things. So it's a constant balance of having proper procedures and protocols in place that stop this stuff from happening, but you don't want to take it too far to where you prohibit them from being able to do their jobs.
Right.
So that's the balance that each individual, setup and each individual retail store has got to figure out exactly where that's at. And you may go too far. If you go too far, I just encourage everyone listen to the feedback you get. If you're getting it from one person and only one person, I'd say start looking them up in the point. Okay. But if you're getting it from multiple people that are saying like, hey, this is making it hard for me to be able to even sell a gun to somebody because I have to run across the store to be able to do it, adapt and adjust your plan and just look back on it. So the hardest part about all of this is just sort of fitting in. And of course, then you'll go too far this way and somebody will take advantage of it. Just be nimble, be flexible, but just do it. If you just do it and have some plan that's publicly out there in front of your associates and some things that are out there facing the customers, it will reduce your risk dramatically.
Right. I think this has been I think this is probably one of my most fun sessions. It may be because Colt and Oki are not here. I'm just kidding, guys. If you're out there watching, I love you.
What did you call them yesterday? Koki? Was that
Oakley or Koki or something like that?
It was good. Whatever it was. I liked it.
I can freeform when I'm insulting people, but
Kolki. I think it was Kolki. That's what it was. Kolki. Yeah.
Kolki. That is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, but I think this is good. It's like Phil says, I am a new FFL and feel very supported by you all. Thanks. Thank you, Phil, because that's literally why we're doing this. And we know that, Greg's day job is CEO of Buying Freedom Group, but he's got a wealth of knowledge in regards to retail. So it's like, we've got to have Greg on to share his experience, to tell you the pitfalls and the mountains to climb. Some mountains you shouldn't climb, right? Some things you should not focus on. So we're glad that Greg is here to do this. Greg, can you give me an idea of what we might talk about in our next episode?
Yeah, I think next episode, I feel like the last two have been all downers. So
they have been downers.
Something to sort of raise the environment up and get a little happier. So what I'd like to talk about is kind of opportunities and just things we can do to increase business. It's going to be a little bit of marketing, a little bit of operational type stuff, but just some successful things I've seen done in the past that have really increased sales. That's where I get really excited. Yeah.
That's fun.
That's the fun part about retail, is how do we get those numbers up? So, again, won't have all the answers, but I'm always around too. If anybody's got any questions or anything, I'm happy to get in. I hope that'll be more interactive and we can talk about some things with some people, but I'll come prepared with some really cool stories and ideas that I've seen things make a difference in other businesses.
That's going to be awesome. I'm actually excited. Not saying I haven't been excited for these, but I am literally excited for that one. Hey, so Anna, I noticed that you had shared buyingfreedomgroup.com. That is Greg's company there, and you can go check that out. And if you could also share coreware.com, I would like for people to know we're not just selling solutions there. We've got blogs, articles, we've got links to some really helpful information. And the reason I thought about that is Phil's like, hey, you guys are helping me. We offer all kinds of help, as much help as we can. We try to go beyond what you're needing, because obviously you don't just want to barely get by. We want you to survive and thrive. And that's our sole mission. Our mission statement is to help small business survive and thrive. And I'm glad Ezra made it that, because it's really hard for me to memorize things. And if it were more than a sentence, I told him, Ezra, if this is more than a sentence, I'm probably not gonna be able to work here. So he's like, all right, let me think. We help small business survive and thrive. And I'm like, I'm on board. Let's do
He made it rhyme too, just so you could remember.
Oh, wow. That's how slow I am. I didn't realize that. No, I'm just joking with you. I'm just joking with you. No, seriously, guys, thank you so much. Go check out coreware.com. Check out buyingfreedomgroup.com. We'll probably cover more of Buying Freedom Group in a future episode where Greg kind of lays that out. That's more of a, I mean, it is a retailer, but it's also a manufacturer specific solution. And we'll maybe have a Q&A. That may be a different series, though, I think.
I think that might be, but either way, it'll be great because it brings, I'm a retailer at heart. So manufacturers are primarily our audience on the Buying Freedom Group side, but the benefit, there's a massive benefit to retailers. And I'm excited to share that with all of y'all. So yeah, we'll figure out how to get something on the books for that, Joel, so we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, we've got some really good things coming up. Greg, let me ask you this. I think the NRA show is coming up. You might be around there for one day, right?
Correct.
So if you see Greg, tell him you saw him on his Retail Mastery webinar, and you just might win something. I can't say what it would be, but you just might win a prize or something. We would love to hook you up with a prize or something. So, but with that, I think we're going to call it quits for now, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've covered everything.
I am so glad you're here, man. I've enjoyed doing this second one with you, and I hope that you're around to do like maybe one every month. I think that's what we were going for.
Yep.
Unless something emergent pops up, like I know that the first one we did, I think that was like, we need to get on this now because this could be a thing for people. Like,
it was. Yeah.
What was the first one?
That was about when you terminate an employee.
That's right. That's right.
To make sure that we're covered.
Yeah, and that's a good starting point. But the first two have been depressing, guys. So sorry about that. The next one's going to be fun. Hey, Greg, be thinking of ways how I can help as well, because I like building robots. I want to build a robot that would help us, right?
Okay, let's do that. All right, we'll do that.
That would be really fun.
We have a mission and it's in the public, so now we owe a robot, so we got to do it.
Yeah. Hey, and any of these robots, you guys, if you've signed up for ChatGPT, I think it's free. So it's like a Google account. Just go sign up for it. Once you open that Webby or anything else we share with you, that's in your conversation now. So you've got all that logic and reason and information that we pumped into that thing, thinking the way we want it to think. It's going to help you in the same way. So these things are free, man. Like 15, 20 years ago, we'd be selling these things for $10,000. Absolutely free. In the chat, you're going to find the link to the Webbies, which is a link to the Webby and the previous webinars, and you're going to find the link to buyingfreedomgroup.com and coreware.com. So make sure you check those sites out. Let us know if we can do anything for you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we can't wait to see you in the next one.
Thanks, everyone.
That's all right. We'll see you soon. Powered by Coreware. That's all right. A one-night done. Retail mastery's just begun. You've got the tools, you've got the drive. Now go help your business thrive. From the floor to the cloud, we're right by your side. With Greg in your corner, it's a smoother ride. Coreware's here to help you shine. Better retail, one step at a time. Retail mastery. We'll see you soon.